This does a better job. So, effective September 12th, unvaccinated workers will need to take a COVID test every week until cases have stabilized. Anyone who tests positive will need to isolate. Beginning on November 1st, employees who are not fully vaccinated will have an extra $200 monthly surcharge for the company's account based healthcare plan. The charge will cover the financial risk taken on by Delta for having unvaccinated employees. Okay, so this is their reason. This is them justifying why they be doing this. In the past few weeks, all workers hospitalized with the virus were not vaccinated, costing the airline an average of $50,000 per person, according to the company. So, starting September 30th, COVID-19 pay protection will only cover fully inoculated employees experiencing a breakthrough case. This is in line with local and state laws. And also starting Wednesday until infection rates are lowered, Delta will require unvaccinated employees to wear a mask in all indoor Delta facilities. All right. All right, so let me so anybody familiar with the Affordable Care Act? Anybody familiar with what they call Obamacare? And if you are, do you remember the initial goal of the Affordable Health Care Act / Obamacare? Do you remember why that thing came apart or came to be? Very interesting. The reason why it's so interesting is because if this happens, we are watching in real time decades of work be undone within a couple months. Does anybody agree? I mean, does anybody familiar? Is anybody familiar with the Affordable Health Care Act, Obamacare? Do you know why that came about? Do you know what the problems were as it pertains to healthcare or health insurance before the Affordable Health Care Act? So let me go this route. So before the Affordable Care Act, insurance was just insurance, just like with any insurance. It was all based on your risk. So when we look at other insurances, they're absolutely based on your history, right? We're talking about car insurance. Your car insurance is based on your driving record. So if you speed and you get speeding tickets, your insurance premium is going to be higher, right? And that makes sense. You speed, you're risky. The speed limit is 50, you're doing 70. You're risky. If you run red lights, you're risky. You can get into an accident. Your premium is going to go up because you are more likely to get into a car accident, meaning that as an insurance company, I will more likely have to pay out of my pockets to take care of your vehicle. If you have a DUI, you're definitely risky. If you have a history of driving drunk, you're definitely risky. And so with car insurance policies, that's how those things will work. Same thing with life insurance. Now, see, life insurance, they don't play that game. They don't play these games. For those of you who have life insurance, you know the questions they ask. And for those of you who don't have life insurance, I definitely recommend you getting life insurance. And if you don't have a place to get life insurance, send me a DM. My assistant will get back with you with our recommendations as far as life insurance. We know somebody. So, but with life insurance, they go through the questionnaire, they do your blood work, they do your blood pressure, they do your height, your weight, your waist, because they want to know before we put this $200,000 policy or this $1 million policy or whatever it is, what are your risks? How likely are you to die in a certain time frame? Are you likely to die sooner or later? Just where are you at with health? And based on those metrics, they're going to come up with an insurance policy. They're going to come up with a premium for you to pay on a monthly basis. But that's all based on your risk. Same thing with home insurance. Where do you live? I live in Florida, and you know how we get down with hurricanes. You know how it is with hurricanes with us. You just saw a hurricane. It didn't hit Florida, but this is hurricane season coming up. And so where do you live? Are you next to water? You know, and so on and so forth. All these things are risks, and they will now take those risk factors and calculate them to see what the likelihood of you having that drastic outcome and setting a premium for you. That's how insurance works. And so, in other words, the riskier you are, the more you're going to pay. Everybody get that. So that's traditional insurance. And before the Affordable Care Act came along, insurances were working the same way. Did we all get that so far? Did we all get that? Okay. I have. Let me take this off the screen. So, all right. So that's how insurances in general work, right? Now, with the Affordable Care Act, their big thing was you should not be charged for a pre-existing condition. That was the whole entire banner and slogan for the Affordable Health Care Act, Obamacare, right? And so insurances, the companies, they were told that not only do you have to insure everyone, but you have to give them comprehensive insurance, meaning that you can't nitpick as far as like what you're going to do for this person based on their health risk. You can't just decide where the deductible or premium is going to be for this person who has this type of health condition. It needs to be comprehensive. They need to be able to do everything that a healthy individual can do. And they were also told that at no point can you create a premium for individuals based on their medical risk or based on their medical history. And so that was the whole big thing behind the ACA, the the Affordable Care Act. And I think with smoking was a little different. There was some you can make some variations with smoking, but essentially across the board, you couldn't judge them based on their health history. And personally, for me, I would say that I'm definitely on board with that when it comes to things such as cancer, where unless you can point to something that clearly a person did to themselves that actually caused cancer, for the most part, it's kind of hard to really put your finger on what's going to cause cancer. And so when it comes to cancer, I take the stance of, yeah, I get that part. Now, I'm a little different when it comes to other conditions where lifestyle is what's bringing that on. We won't go into that in this video right now, but for cancer, I completely get it. With other conditions that lifestyle is the main contributor to it, I'm a little different with it. So my question is, how far do we want to go with this whole charging additional money for premiums? How far do we want to go with this? How far do we want to go with it? Because if you're saying that not being vaccinated puts your employees at risk of being hospitalized, and that hospitalization is causing you on average $50,000, then are we going to do this across the board with things that put you at risk of ending up in the hospital? Because COVID is not the only thing that can put you in the hospital. And you know what else? It's not just COVID. It's not just people who have COVID who are ending up in the hospital. It's people who actually have underlying health conditions. And so this is why I say this is a slippery slope, because what we're watching is the snake eat itself, because you're going to mess around and undo all of your work that you already pushed for because this whole thing is very strange. This idea of mandating and passporting is very, very strange, because we don't have, in my opinion, I don't see the evidence to justify such harsh recommendations and mandates. Now, if you're going to keep that same energy across the board as pertains to charging more for insurance premiums, charging $200 more, well, there's several other things that also increase your chances of ending up in hospital before COVID and after COVID, like without COVID. And so I get it. People say that they don't want to pay for other people's lifestyle choices. Once again, are you going to be across the board with that? right? Um, but you know, there's a couple other things that's going to increase your chance of filing a health claim and also increase your chance of being hospitalized. So, are you going to, and I'm not specifically speaking to you all watching this, but let's ask the question: if someone being unvaccinated, based on what they're saying, is putting them at risk of getting the virus and being hospitalized, which we should really, you should all really question that stat. All right. Like, it's very interesting when you question that stat. Let me go back to the chat real quick because I'm not. All right, cool. Okay, new comments. Gotcha. There's a lot of comments. So, you know, right now, what is the percentage that you all have read or seen when they say the amount of people who are being hospitalized right now with COVID? What percentage are they claiming are the unvaccinated? What percentage? Anybody know? Go ahead and put it in the chat. While you're doing that, let me continue to cook. So, we're talking about risk, right? So if you're saying that being unvaccinated will increase your chances of landing in the hospital, which will cost the company $50,000, what else will increase your chance? What about blood pressure? High blood pressure. Will that increase your chance? The answer is yes. We know that to be a fact. In fact, we know three things to be a fact. We know that insulin resistance is a risk. We know that being a type 2 diabetic is a risk. We know that having high blood pressure is also a risk. We know that 75 to 80% of people in the hospitals right now with COVID have those underlying conditions. We know that this is the truth. It's not me making that up. And so it's like, how can we look at that correlation, see such a high percentage of people, not only high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and obesity, insulin resistance. Obesity has a strong link to being hospitalized, but also vitamin D deficient. So, are we going to look at those underlying conditions and then say, you know what? Let me just post. You know what, Danielle? Thank you for your service. We appreciate you working here. We want you to continue working here. And I know you got the vaccine, so you don't have to worry about paying additional $200 for, you know, not being unvaccinated. You're not like those guys. But we do see that your blood pressure is slightly elevated, and it's been that way for the past several checkups with your doctor. Do you have high blood pressure? And if you say yes, and then we know that high blood pressure has a high correlation with you being hospitalized, are we now going to charge the person who is vaccinated an additional amount of money because, oh no, Danielle, stop, Danielle, chill. I don't, hypothetical, Danielle, hypothetical. I'll mess with you, Danielle. But are we now going to start, or are they going to now start charging people additional amounts for their blood pressure? Not just being not just being hypertensive, but being unmanaged. Are you going to be charged an additional amount for having blood pressure that is not within that range of 120 over 70? What if your blood pressure is 140 over 80? And they're saying, no, we need to get that 120 over 70. And you're saying, yo, I'm doing what I can right now. I'm taking 2 blood pressure medications. And they're saying, you know, well, 2 is good, but 3 is better. So if you don't want to get charged an additional $200 a month, we're going to need you to get that blood pressure down to 120 over 70. And you tell them, look, when my blood pressure gets that low, I feel a little lightheaded. Plus the medications that I'm taking to get my blood pressure that low is causing erectile dysfunction. It's causing numbness. It's causing tingling. It's causing all these things. We hear you. But if you don't do this, then we will have to charge you an additional amount. Or are they going to start charging you an additional amount for your blood sugar management, having poor blood sugar management? Your A1C went up by a point last month. Are they going to charge you by doing random blood sugar checks and seeing that you just ate 2 hours ago, but your blood sugar is still at 200? You know, this is a random blood sugar check. We see that your blood sugar is at 200. If we do this again and your blood sugar is still high, this means that you have not been managing your diabetes. So we will have to increase your premium. Now, this is a slippery slope, right? I mean, you can see that this can go a very long way. But this is the very same thing that the Affordable Health Care Act was fighting for. This is what the Obamacare Act was about. It was about, we don't want people to be penalized for having pre-existing health conditions. And so if you are saying that based on the risk that you have for ending up in the hospital, we're going to charge you an additional amount. Well, there are other risks that people may have that may land them in the hospital while also being vaccinated. Does that make sense to you all? Do you all see that there is there's some things that are not lining up? They're not making sense because either you're going to go across the board with this and then undo all the work that the Affordable Care Act has done, which is very strange because the very people who and I don't do the whole politics, the political aspect of it, but the very group that put that in place is also the well, both of these groups are now the ones who are saying, yeah, $200 a month for a premium sounds all right. So let me read these comments.